Well, here we are, next day working on the knobboy. Here's where we left it. Remember, we had it so that you can pick it up. It is tight enough because we made adjustments. Fixing all our little mistakes there. No big deal. All right, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to retrace with the templates where things are going to go. We're going to route for the pickup. So we got a couple P90s going in this baby, so we're going to route for them. And let's see what else we can get done here. Maybe get the frets in. So we'll see. It's all about radiusing the fretboard, getting the frets in. I like to do that before I carve the back. That way, when I'm putting frets in, you know, I like to use the press, and it just sits real nice and square in the press. I don't have to worry about using a little cawling or anything there. And so yeah, we're going to do that. This one's just getting pearl dots, plain white dots for the sides. So that's going to be a piece of cake. I do need to work on getting this squared. It's not quite there. It's almost. It's actually not too bad. And being the fact that it is Meranti, I should be able to do that pretty much with just a scraper and some sandpaper. Same thing with the neck pocket. Again, we're using a Tune-o-matic, so we want to get a little bit of a pitch dive there. And so we're going to do that. And yeah, that's quite a bit of work, but not as much as it sounds. I mean, when you look at it on a punch list, looks like a lot of things, but a lot of those are 10-15 minute jobs that obviously will add up in a day's worth of work, but not too bad. It is warm. I've got the short sleeve on, I got shorts on. It's a beautiful warm day out here in Southern California. What can I say? Pretty blessed with the location. You're noticing the lighting. I've got the barn doors open. We're getting all natural lighting in here right now because I still don't have all the light fixtures up like I should. But yeah, so let's get crack-a-lackin'. So first things first, we're going to retrace our steps here, and just making sure I've got center line on the templates, get all the lines going, and then just sand down to it. I don't like using the router template trick with that bearing router. It always seems to gouge, especially on softer woods like this Meranti. So there you have it. Okay, so that was fun. Now what we're going to do is, if you notice, I kind of traced on the big template the layout of what I want to do with the pick guard. And there's a reason for that. Is here it's easy for me to see what we're doing, and then that way I can follow that path. Now I believe what I did is it's about a ½ an inch in. So I'm just going to mark a couple spots, ½ an inch in. I said, time for a new pencil. Sharpen that one later. Okay, so basically here's what I'm doing. I'm going and marking. I know I could do the finger trace thing, but this is just as easy. All right. And we got here, again, about ½ an inch in. So that's why I needed to get the shape as close as I could at this point first. Then what we're going to do is just kind of line it up. And this is crucial for the pickup location. All right, that'll work, something like that. The reason I'm doing this, making sure I do this first, just give myself a reference point before I go grinding in and routing out the P90 holes. I want to know basically where everything's going to fit. Because we do have, remember, this is where the tom is going to go. You know, we'll have something like this for the saddles. And then the tailpiece itself back here. Something like that. And I know I'm not really right on with it, but something like that. Give or take a millimeter. But what we want to get right, what's important is what we're doing right now. We'll deal with that later. So I want to know where we're going to put these pickups. Now this one is going to be fully into the guard, where this one's going to be like a half cut. Probably right about there, because we want it back close enough to the bridge to make it bright. But I want to get all that kind of mapped out so that I know where my pickups are, because I don't want to drill my pickup hole right there. That would be ridiculous, won't work, and I'd have to do more wood patching. And I don't want it way up here. You know, it's a chunky short scale. It's going to have good low tone definition already. So we want to do something we can to brighten it up. We're going to put this one as close to that bridge as we can get. Probably right about there would be fine. Okay, and then this one we do want it a little closer. We don't want it to be too far off. We want it to be a little bit closer to the neck, get that good mellow tone. So what do you think, about 4 millimeters? I know in other boards and such, everybody's talking about these fancy mechanical pencils, and James, you should get one. I have them. I have two. The reason I have two is because the first one broke, and the reason why I don't use the second one because it broke too. So, you know, these break, I just sharpen them. And my wonderful daughter Lydia has sharpened a whole bunch ahead of time for me. So I just put the unsharpened ones in one spot, pull out the sharp ones, and at the end of the day, sharpen new ones. They're ready to go. I think that'll line up pretty good with the mock-up. I think so. Yeah, I'm thinking that looks pretty good. I'll go with that. Let's just make sure all lines up here. Yeah, that looks pretty doggone good. All right, well, we got that much done. Boy, what a mess we made of the place. But yeah, pretty rigid. Got a nice little seam right there. Just a little bit of sanding right there, maybe fix that. make it even more gooder. You kind of see the color of the Meranti where it changes from one level to another. That's a cool thing. But yeah, I'll just clean that up a little bit. Made with the little hand strips rather than the big block. Oh, look at that right there. Beautiful, done. All right, so that's a type seam that we want. We don't want, even though this is going to have a black burst, having a gap with glue isn't going to hurt. I mean, the tight bond is a really good glue for that. It is going to do its job and it's going to hold, and some folks might even argue that a little bit more gap makes it hold better. I don't know. I just think it looks ugly. So even though we're going to do a black burst on this, I just don't want it to look ugly. That's all. I'm kind of that way. Now it does look like it's a little tight up against the rim here, and that's okay because we're going to take probably at least a millimeter, maybe 2.5 when we do the sanding on this thing. So I mean, because I'm looking at, there's some gouges. I'm not even sure this was sanded at all. It's probably just right off the saw. So I'm going to come down quite a bit. Of course, once we build up the finish, going to put more on there, but that's okay. We're gonna make this thing fit really nicely, really pretty. But I'm thinking at this point, this would be a good time to put some frets in and get ready for all the other shaping.
Now, I am no aficionado by any means of doing inlays, and even dots can be tricky. Main thing with dots is to remember center line, and that's what I'm doing here. Finding the center. I'm doing the old cross method, so and then of course, just make sure you know where that center line is, not only mechanically, but also visually. Get that visual center line. And that's pretty much it. I work my way up through the drill bits. This wood is very unforgiving, especially if you got cheap drill bits, which I do. So I work my way up through that, and then I even use a countersink bit just to kind of soften the edges as I go up in size. You'll see that here in a bit. And even with that, you still get some chip out. That's just going to happen. And like I said at the beginning of this series, one of the best things about ebony is it's easy to patch. Now I keep a little bottle of ebony dust, and you'll see later when I'm doing the radius on the fretboard, that's how I get the dust. I save it. And you can tell by how fast I'm going that I am the person that emptied the contents of that bottle, what it was originally in there before I put ebony dust. Yeah, that's what it is. Good old CA glue. Now notice what I just did there with the razor blade. I got a little close to the front slot on that patch, and so I just put a razor blade in there, kind of dammed it up, kept it from dripping in there. But you'll also see with the saw that I can't do too much. I mean, they're going to get some in there, so you just saw it back out. Now what I'm doing here is the side dots. Now those I just drill in about 1/4 inch, give or take, and then I try to just do them all at once. Get them all in there, stage them up, and then straighten them up when I hit the accelerator, and then just cut them all up. And then all you got to do is file them down, sand them down, and smooth them out. Now we're putting a 12-inch radius on this fretboard, so I don't mind putting the dots in first. If we were doing a harsher radius, then I probably would, kind of get the fretboard started and then do the dots and then finish it out. You don't want to grind down your inlays too much. And here we are. Now you'll notice I've got 3 different blocks there. Final answer is going to be 12-inch radius, but I find sometimes it helps just to start grinding it with a 10. and then flatten it out a little bit with the 16 and then hit the 12 and just keep going back and forth. There I was, just collecting some of that ebony dust. Don't let it go to waste. You know we're going to need it later. Now I know they make machinery that does all this and different jigs and tools guys use, but I find, by doing the radius by hand is kind of my, kind of my replacement to not going to the gym. Now I've got everything radius now. I just want to make sure that it's level from fret 1 to fret 22. So I'm using the beam for that. And collecting more dust. And you can see all over my body I've got dust collected. And now we're going to oil it. And just work that dust back into the grooves from all the sanding. I think I've got like a 110 on the radius block. So we just want to get right down in there. Kind of work it in. And then add oil and buff it out. Work it in, add oil, buff it out. Just keep doing that until you can see already it's starting to gather a little bit of a sheen. That's what we want. And of course, make patches along the way.
There's black everywhere. I use mechanic soap to wash my hands after using this stuff. And I know I probably should be wearing gloves, but they're like $4,000 a pair right now. Thanks to all our COVID issues. And you notice I was putting on oil and then I was sanding a little bit. What that does, that just fills in that all the grains in that ebony. Takes care of any cross scratches. Try to get all the scratches going in one direction. That way they're not as noticeable. They look like grain, not scratches. That's the whole concept behind that. But, you do what you can, and then later on in the process of fretting and polishing frets and all that, we'll probably get a couple more scratches going cross grain. So we do what we can to get this all nice and slick looking. That's got to sit for about 10 minutes. Once that sits in real good, and I'll hit it with some 600, put another coat on. I'll let that rest for 10 minutes, hit it with 800, put another coat on, and then call it a night. That's going to be it. Whew. So that's it. So it's going to let it sit, and then tomorrow morning, I've got some guitars to polish up, and so they're ready to get buffed out and get ready to be assembled. So I'm going to get to those and then probably get some footage of me fretting this. What can I say? It's a messy job. Hey, thanks again, folks, for tuning in to Dude Craft Guitars. Really appreciate it. I can't say it enough. Please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share with friends. Get them to subscribe. We're building this channel. This time last year, I had half as many subscribers as we do now. Pushing 300. I hope to push 1,000 by the end of the year. And we could only do that with your help, and I really appreciate it. So thanks again for checking out Day at the Dude Ranch, all right? And come on back, and thanks again for supporting Dude Craft Guitars.